Welcome to this second in a series of videos on trigonometric ratios. Here is a quick warning. Videos are very passive learning medium, and passive listening dulls your brain and gives a false impression of understanding. For a good learning experience, we urge you to write notes, pause occasionally and think if you agree, disagree. Follow the instructions, wherever instructed. Try checkpoint questions and use these videos as starting point to explore further. So let's start with this session. Let's start with terminologies. There are three terminologies in a right angle triangle. The first one is perpendicular, base, and then we have the hypotenuse. And what's important is from where you are seeing the triangle. So let's say you're seeing the triangle from here, and this is your angle, and usually angles are denoted by Greek alphabets. We call it theta and phi. Usually these are the two common variables used for representing angles, but the others are alpha, beta, gamma, etc. are also used. These are Greek alphabets: alpha, beta, gamma. So don't be perplexed with these. Alright, so let's name this angle as theta, or theta 1. So if we call this theta 1 and you're viewing from here, then this becomes your perpendicular, and this becomes your base, and this becomes your hypotenuse. So let's say, for example, instead of viewing from here, you view from here, right? And let's name these angles. Let this be A, B, and C. So in first case, you are viewing from, or maybe let me even get this color code right. So in the first case, you are viewing from A, and now you're viewing from C. Now as you view from C, then this becomes your perpendicular, this becomes your base, and this remains the hypotenuse, right? And if you find this hard, then one thing you could do is you could rotate this triangle, and you could rotate this triangle like this. And once you rotate the triangle, then it becomes obvious. So as you look from here, the perpendicular is AB. So as you look from here, the perpendicular is AB, and your base is CB. So this is your base, and this remains your hypotenuse. And of course, this angle is, you can say that this is 90 minus theta 1, because sum of all the angles of the triangle have to be 180 degrees. So if this is 90 and theta 1, then this becomes 90 minus theta 1 is the angle. Alright, so that's the first terminology that you need to remember in trigonometry, the idea of perpendicular, base, and height. The second concept in trigonometry is the trigonometric ratios. I'm sorry, in the just some time before, I think I called h as height. H is not the height. H is always a representation of hypotenuse, right? So these are the three things that we have for any triangle. So now in this triangle, let's see what are the different ratios that are possible in a triangle. So let's say we are viewing from here, and this angle is theta. So the first ratio that's possible is perpendicular by base. So perpendicular by base, right? And the second one, that is second ratio in this triangle that is possible, is base by hypotenuse, right? So the second ratio that's possible is base by hypotenuse. And the third ratio that we can imagine is perpendicular by base. Sorry, that's the first one we said. The second one is base by hypotenuse. The third one is perpendicular by hypotenuse, let's say, right? I mean, I'm just randomly defining the ratios, right? So we have perpendicular by hypotenuse. So these are the three ratios possible. So let's take a concrete example. Let's take a concrete example. So we have an example here. So we have 3 and 4, and by Pythagoras theorem, this triangle, this side is 5. So the first ratio that we have for this triangle is perpendicular by base. So that is, this is perpendicular, this is base, and this is hypotenuse. So my perpendicular by base is 3 by 4. Base by hypotenuse is 4 by 5, because the base is 4 and 5. Assuming I'm viewing from here, right? That's very important. Otherwise, the perpendicular and base changes, right? Okay, so perpendicular by hypotenuse would be 3 by 5. So I have three ratios. Now we give each of these ratios a name. So the first ratio is perpendicular by hypotenuse, and that is, we call it as sine of this angle, which is theta. So that represents that I'm viewing from here, right? From this is an angle from which I'm looking at. So sine of theta, and this is, don't imagine this as sine into theta or something like that. This is wrong. This is sine, we call it sine of theta. Just like in math we write function of x. So the name of this function is sine here, and theta is the angle, right? So we give perpendicular by hypotenuse this as a name, and that name is sine theta. Base by hypotenuse is cos theta, and perpendicular by base is tan theta. You may be wondering, how this is, how would you remember this? This is so confusing. Now I would like to share something that I learned when I was small, and I still use the mnemonics to remember this. And here is a mnemonics. So that mnemonics is as follows: some people have curly brown hair till painted black. So your sine, your S, this S stands for sine theta, right? The sine of theta is perpendicular by hypotenuse. So some people have. And cos of theta is curly brown hair. So that's base by hypotenuse. And tan is T. So tan of theta is equal to perpendicular by base, is equal to perpendicular by base. So if you remember this based on the mnemonics, then you are all set. So now let's try to apply this mnemonics and try to do the same problem but from a different viewing angle, right? So we have the same problem, which is we have the same triangle. The triangle was 3, 4, 5 triangle. Let's look at that. Yes, that's 3, 4, and 5. So 3, 4, and 5. Now let's say we are looking from here, and this is A, B, and C. So if this is, let's say, theta 1, and let's call this as theta 2. So when you're viewing from C, so we say sine of theta 2 is some people have. So this is a perpendicular, this is a hypotenuse for that view, and this is the base. So some people have. So sine theta 2 is perpendicular by hypotenuse, and that is 4 by 5. Cos theta 2 would be equal to curly brown hair, base by hypotenuse. So that's base by hypotenuse. So that is 3 by 5. And your tan theta 2 is till painted black, perpendicular by base. So that is perpendicular by base. So that is 4 by 3. So your value of the sine, cos, and tan changes based on where you're viewing from. So that's what we have for this triangle. So here is a checkpoint. Here is the triangle that we have, and this is a right angle triangle, and try to find out what is your sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta. So you have been given the perpendicular and the base, and you can find out the value of the hypotenuse by using Pythagoras theorem. So you will know the hypotenuse as well, and try to find out what is sine theta, tan theta, and cos theta. So see you in the next one, where we will get into more terminologies and details. Bye.